We have to stop Trump's next grift. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. How do we prevent the next grifter in chief? You got any thoughts? I mean, after the Nixon, the bribery scandals and everything else. I mean, in my mind, the Nixon bribery scandals are the biggest part of Watergate. They were generally considered a footnote because of the political stuff that was going on. But, you know, he was bribed by the milk lobby. He was bribed by Jimmy Hoffa. And God only knows who else he was taking bribes from. Nixon was on the take, and people regularly were walking into the White House with briefcases filled with $100 bills, or maybe they were $1,000 bills back then. I think they hadn't taken it out of circulation at that point. And, I mean, he got $500,000 from the milk lobby in a briefcase. He got $1 million from Jimmy Hoffa in a briefcase. That was Richard Nixon. So Congress, after Nixon left office, now those things were already arguably illegal, but Congress really tightened things up. And they said, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Right? And we're going to put individual contribution limits on. We're going to control corporate contributions. We're going to start controlling the flow of cash into the political system. And that all happened in 1974, 75, 76. And then in 1976, the Supreme Court took a meat axe to it. The Supreme Court ruled in their Buckley decision, no, you can't stop rich people from giving money to politicians. All they have to do is declare it. Right? And they don't even have to declare it in a way that anybody will know before the election. And then 2 years later, they said, oh, and this is in the Buckley versus Bellotti decision in 78, they said, oh, you can't stop corporations from giving money to politicians. And ever since then, the Republican Party and a few of the Democrats, it used to be more, now it's less, and the numbers are shrinking every day. But the entire Republican Party has been on the take from right-wing billionaires and giant corporations. And so now we're in a situation where Donald Trump is pushing a pardon for himself and his grifter family and the grifters who surround him. And Mitch McConnell is pushing a pardon for the corporations that have been killing, sickening, disabling, and abusing their employees. They're both all about pardons. I mean, we have had administrations where family members were brought in, right? Bobby Kennedy was the Attorney General for Jack Kennedy. But nobody ever in their wildest dreams thought that Bobby Kennedy would need a pardon for crimes he committed while he was working in the White House. Nobody ever thought that. But Ivanka and Jared, oh my God. Just Jared going over to the Middle East to hustle $1 billion out of one of our allies that we are now shipping F-35s to after there'd been a congressional moratorium to not further militarize the Middle East. You put that at the top of the list. I mean, we've got, this family of grifters in the White House. In the last, 3 weeks? Almost 4 weeks? Well, no, it's exactly a month. November 3rd, the election. Since that election, Donald Trump has raised $170 million. He's not running for office. He's raised $170 million. I got 4 more fundraisers from him, fundraising emails from him in the mail this morning. I mean, some of them came in overnight, right? And Trump has given top secret information to foreign adversaries. He's embraced dictators and autocrats around the world. He's enthusiastically damaged our relationships with our allies. I mean, it's almost like he's working for a foreign government. And now we're experiencing, we just had 3,000 people die in a day in the United States. That's 9/11. We're having Donald Trump and his lack of action on the coronavirus, while Taiwan and South Korea and Japan and Australia and New Zealand, they're all looking at COVID death rates of less than 2 people per 100,000. We're at 47 people per 100,000. I mean, it's like 20 times more. And why? Because they took the virus seriously and Donald Trump wanted to play golf. And honest to God, that's it. He's spent half his presidency on his own golf courses, squeezing government money into his businesses while he's out on the links, instead of taking care of the business of the country. Our healthcare system is collapsing. The economy's been shredded. Every day, but right in the middle of this, every day, Americans all across the country are getting multiple fundraising appeals from Trump. I mean, it's just a giant grift. And this is nuts. This grift really, it started with Reagan. Gingrich did it in a big way in the 1990s when he had his contract on America, and 6 of the 10 items were all pointing to the same piece of legislation that cut taxes on rich people and big corporations. The Republicans' government can't do anything grift is now right out there in the open. Everybody can see it. It's killed over 250,000 Americans. It's led to open, naked, unabashed criminality in the White House. I mean, even second and third level functionaries in the Trump White House are breaking the law. The Hatch Act at the top of the list, but there's a whole bunch of other ones. Trump wants his pardons for himself and his criminal cronies. McConnell wants pardons for the corporations that give him money, the big meatpacking plants and warehouse operations. And they're both probably going to get away with it, which means that the new Congress has to do something about the corruption of money in our government. So, number one. Number two, Republicans think, I really should say conservatives think, because this actually is part of a conservative worldview, but I don't think that there's any Republicans left who don't call themselves conservatives. You used to have the Bob Packwood Republicans who call themselves liberals. They're long gone. So anyhow, Republicans think that the only way that you can guarantee that somebody's going to behave in a way that is positive is to frighten or threaten them. Seriously, think about this for a minute. This was the rationale. John Kelly laid it out when he was chief of staff for Donald Trump. He said, if we don't punish those children coming across the border looking for asylum here, the refugees, if we don't punish them, more will come. We need to punish them in such a severe way that the word travels to Central and South America that you will be hurt if you go to America. And that philosophy still holds. That's still, Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, all of them, that's still their philosophy. The only way to motivate people is to punish them. And therefore, the Trump administration is holding back phone numbers and addresses that they could be giving to these children, or the guardians of these children, about where their parents are. They're intentionally keeping these families separated. As we're going into Christmas, for God's sake. They do the same thing with workers. This is why Republicans are opposed to unemployment insurance. They think that if the government is paying you, you won't have an incentive to have a job.